Hi, this is Amit Fadnas, and today we are going to talk about integrate Power Virtual Agent with Power Automate flows in Microsoft Teams. Um, so you might have some experience, or you might have heard about Microsoft's Azure bot framework. Um, so what Microsoft has done is it has come up with a no-code solution for Power Virtual Agent, which technically they advertise like you can in 5 minutes you can create your own chatbot, which can be on your Microsoft Teams, and you can start working with it. So we are going to take it a step further, and what we are going to do is we are going to integrate your out of box Power Automate Power Virtual Agent with a Power Automate flow. So, what we are going to do is we are going to train this chatbot to basically ask for certain information and generate a document. If you have been following my channel, I had a video a few days back where I talk about how to generate a document through a workflow or through a Power Automate flow. So we are going to use the same example. We are going to use the same template, but now we are going to use a bot to create that document. So first things first, we are going to look at um, the templates. So if you have followed my previous example, these are the two templates which I have. One is the service agreement, and here is what I have done through developer mode. I have created these fields for client name, client address, client city, client state, client zip code, contract date, and so forth. And also I have this work order based template as well. Okay. So let's first look at what we are going to build, and then I'll show you how you can build that particular um, chatbot. Okay. So this is my bot called Generate Documents. So I can just say good morning, and the chatbot is going to respond saying, "Hey, I am a virtual agent. I can help with document generation and location of documents. If you'd like to speak to a human agent, let me know at any time." So what I'm going to do is say generate document for me. Okay. And it is saying going to say, hey, I would be happy to help you with this. What kind of document do you want? So I can click on master service agreement, and it is going to start asking me some questions. Who is the client? So I'm going to say testing client. Okay. Now, the next step is it is going to ask me for the address, because if you remember on my template, we did have the address and all that information. So I'm going to say it is, say, 111 Testing Street, and I click on enter. The next step is going to say, okay, which city are they located in? I'll just say Kansas City. The next step is, okay, which state? So I'm going to say Missouri. Then what's the zip code? So I'm going to say 66210 or something. And the next thing is what's the effective date of the contract? So I'm going to say it's 02/05/2022. Press enter, and it needs to know the email address if there is any conflict where they need to send the email notice. Let's say I just type in test.testing, which is not a valid email address. So if I press this, it is going to come back and say, sorry, I didn't understand. What is the client notice email address? So I'm going to say, okay, I figured it out. It is going to be test@testing.com. And now it will say, who will sign the document? I'll say John Doe. And finally, what's the job title for that person? So I'm going to say president. Now it asks me for confirmation, like this is what all you have asked me to do. Is this correct? And should I proceed? And if I just say right now, I'm just going to click on no, and it is going to say, okay, I'll start over. Hi, man, virtual agent. So it goes back to the very beginning. So let's talk about how we can build this kind of um, flow and how you can generate this document. It would be extremely useful for organizations to create their say support agents. So you can have a question and answer session, like a common questions and answers, which if your organization, if your team or if your staff starts asking questions like, hey, my computer is acting up or it's frozen, then it will give you some common thing, have you restarted your computer or something like that. And eventually if it says like, okay, I don't get it, let me transfer you to a live person agent, and the chatbot can do it for you. One thing which you need to know is that in order to use the premium connectors and the flow, you need to have the actual license for the virtual agent. Um, in my scenario right now, I'm using the free trial version, but Microsoft licensing is like around $1,000 for 2,000 sessions, so it's pretty expensive. Um, but the basic virtual agent in Microsoft Teams, um, it's provided for you. Um, but once you get to the flow and all that stuff, you might have to look into the licensing. Okay. So right now, I do have this thing tagged over here for Power Virtual Agent, but you can always go to apps and search for Power Virtual Agents, and it is going to pop up, and you can add it over here. So it provides you like, okay, discover the power of chatbots, and you can click on this video and look at it, or you can click on start now. As I said, Microsoft is saying like 5 minutes, no code, and your chatbot is ready. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on chatbots over here. So if you notice over here, I have a appointment bot workshop, generate documents. I'm going to go ahead and click on new chatbot, and I'm going to say this is going to be used by the account managers. Click continue. That's basically where your team channel, where it needs to be accessed through. So over here, I'm going to say generate documents demo. Okay. And if you notice over here, it does have all these languages in which you can um, create the chat button. I'm just going to pick English and click on create. Now it takes a few seconds before this bot is created for you. And now this bot has been created and it says explore bot or explore documents and so forth. I'm just going to click on uh, close that uh, dialog box, and let's just see if this thing is functioning. So I click on good morning. And right now it's not completely done. If you see over here, when it's ready, you can save your works, the analytics, and deploy your bot. On the left hand side, if you see it's not showing, if you go to topics, um, it's still saying unable to load, retry, because it's still processing, it's creating for you. But if you notice over here, it has started providing you some information. So now, if you notice, it has been completed. If you go to topics, by default, what this particular, when I created this chatbot, it has created some lessons for me. A simple topic. If you click on it, it's asking you some questions. When are you closed? When are you open? Store hours, daily open hours, and so forth. So, say if you want to test this thing, and I say good morning, and it is going to say, hey, I'm a virtual agent. I can help with account questions, orders, store information, and so forth. So if you look at the topics again, there is a greeting topic over here. So if you click on greeting, these are all the options which triggers this particular topic. So if you, there is a go to authoring canvas. So if you click on it, It's going to tell you how it is being processed. So when I say good morning, the message is, hi, I'm a virtual agent. I can help you with blah, blah, blah. If you do like to speak to a human agent, let me know at any time. So what can I help you with today? Okay. Pretty easy. Nothing super complex or anything. So what we are going to do is we are going to basically disable these topics, which we don't need because we are not developing anything for a store or anything like that. So I'm just going to keep on clicking on disable, and all these topics are disabled. Now I'm going to say, let's start with a new topic. And in the required thing, I'm going to say lesson. Sometimes it does this weird thing and it refreshes it. Um, just going to click on this, go back to generate documents demo, and in topics, I'm going to say again new topic, and I'm going to say lesson 5, uh, say generate documents. Okay. And what are going to be our, and I can enter a friendly name, description, but I'm just going to skip that for now. So, what could be the trigger phases? I can say documents, added, say generate documents, added, create document, added. So these are some of the trigger phases, and you can keep on adding as many as you want. So the next step is I'm going to click on save topics just so that I make sure that everything is saved for me. And then I'm going to go to the authoring canvas. So I go to authoring canvas, and the first thing is, okay, create document, generate documents. That's the trigger phrases. And once the user enters that, I need to give them some kind of message. So I'm going to say, hi, or I would be happy to do it for you, but before I generate the document, I need to get some preliminary information. Okay, so that's the first step. So the message is going to be displayed to the user. So the next step is going to be is I'm going to ask a question to the user. So I'm going to click on ask a question, and I'm going to say what type of document do you want to generate? Okay, and I'm going to say it's going to be a multiple choice option, and I'm going to say master service agreement, and the next option is maybe a work order. Okay, and I'm going to give this variable name, say type of document. Okay, and let me just click on this, and now this variable has been created. If you notice, it knows that okay, there are two options which the user is going to select from, and it created this condition. So if the type of document is master service agreement, go to this particular branch, or if it is a work order, go to this particular branch. So now the next step is, okay, I got that, like, okay, I need to um, generate a master service agreement. So if you notice over here on the master service agreement, we do have these options for client name, client address, client city. So we are going to ask all of these questions to the end user. Okay. So in order to do that, the next step is going to be is ask a question, and I'm going to say, what is the client name? Okay. Now, on this one, if you click on this arrow over here, it's going to give you all these options. Like these are defined entities which are already given by the chatbot. I'm going to say I'm going to get the user's entire response for this, and in the um, variable name, I'm going to say client name. Okay, so click on close. Then the next question is going to be is ask a question, and I'm going to which or what is the street address for, and I can even put this client name over here. So it looks like it understood what your first question is, and now it's going to ask you the next question. And this one is going to be if you keep on scrolling down over here, there is a street address as an entity. So I click on this, and I'm going to say take this as a street address. Okay. So similarly, I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to ask which city is client and select the client name located in. And I'm going to select a city over here, and I can just search for say, city. And over here, I'm going to say city. So I'm going to go ahead and add all of these other options over here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and added all of these variables or these questions. So I had the street address, where the city they're located in, the state. If you notice, there is a state identifier, the zip code, when the contract effective date is. It this thing does have a date time, but I haven't used that. The reason being is that when you enter this information, it does put in the time, and I just need to get the date part and in a specific format. um, I could have gone ahead and in the flow I could have converted that particular date time to the format which I need, but I'm not going to go to that. If you watch my earlier video, I've already covered how to do that particular stuff. And then on this one, the email address, it has the identifier, the email, who is going to sign the document at the client location, and the person name, and what the job title is. So I've got all of this information done over here. If you notice over here, I'm doing it everything under condition. What I could have done is, and we'll do it for this other, um, when we start doing it for the work order, I'll explain how you can call another um, topic right from here. But right now, since I've already gone ahead and created this thing, just going to go ahead and now go to call an action. And once you click on it, it looks at the flows which are already created. If you notice over here for the demo which I did before we started looking at the technical details, I was already using this Power Virtual Agents flow template. But instead of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on create a flow. Oh, before that, I have to make sure that I save it because it goes to the flow thing, and you might lose all your changes. So what I'm going to do is click on add a node, call an action, and I'm going to click on create a flow. Okay. And I'm going to say, let's use the Power Virtual Agent template. So by default, if you notice over here, it does give you these two actions. One is the Power Virtual Agent, that is like when you're calling that particular flow, and then what is going to be returned back. So we had created all those fields over there. I'm going to now create those fields in this virtual agent as well. So I'm going to click on add an input. And if you notice, there are only three options. One is a text, yes, no, or number. I'm going to go ahead and click on yes. Okay. And I'm going to say, um, let's put in over here, say the client name. Okay, and I'll go ahead and add all the fields over here. So I've gone ahead and created all these input items: the client name, street address, city, state, zip code, effective date, notice email address, client contact person signing the document, and job title. And then I'm also going to add an output which will come back to our virtual agent. So I'm going to just say uh, the document link. Okay, so which will give you what the document link is. And right now I'm not going to enter any value because we haven't yet created the flow. Like, okay, I've taken the input, but how do I generate the document? So I'm going to go ahead and click on save, and it says text is required. So I'm just going to say testing for now. Okay, and I'm going to click on save. And now if I go to the previous agent, the virtual agent, and if you scroll down over here, um, if I click on this one and click on call an action, oops, it created two of them. So let me see which one was mine. Yeah, it's the second one. So let me go back over here, and what I'm going to do is click on this one and click view flow details, and I'm going to um, click on edit over here, and I'm going to change this generate documents so we know which one we are using. Okay, so I click on save and click on close. And if I see over here now, we have this generate document. But before we do that, what we are going to do is we are going to show a message and ask a question after that. Okay, so I'm going to show all the data which has been answered by the end user. So I'm going to say, here is the information you have provided. Okay, so for the client name, I'm going to just make it bold over here and say client name is, and select the client name. And then address, I'm going to say, over here, I'm going to click on street address, space, or put a comma. Uh, then click on city, put a comma, state name, space, and finally the zip code over here. Okay, so that's the address. Um, then notice email, and I'm going to do it bold, email address, press enter, and I'm going to say what effective date of the contract. So I'll just say effective date, and I'm going to select effective date. Um, person signing the contract and client contact person and job title. Okay, so it's going to display all this information, and the next thing is I'm going to ask a question. Is this information correct? So I'm going to just go with multiple choice options and say yes. And the next option is no. Okay. So if I click on no, I'm just going to redirect to another topic, say start over. Okay. But if it is yes, then I'm going to go ahead and call this particular flow. Now, if you notice over here, it did ask me all the input options which we had entered over there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on save for now, um, just so that I make sure that I don't um, corrupt anything over here. So now I'm going to specify the variable. So the first one is client name. It gets it from the client name. The street address is this. City is this. State name is this. And the zip code. I selected the zip code. Effective date is the effective date over here. Email address, then the client contact person, and finally the job title. And then it has like, okay, the document link. So if you click on here, you can change the variable name, but I'm just going to leave it as it is. Okay. So this is what the data I have received back from the workflow. So I'm finally going to send a message saying that your document has been generated, and here is the link for the document. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and um, specify. I'm going to specify this document link over here. So once this is done, so what we have done so far is that, okay, we got all the questions, then we passed it to the workflow, and it came back with the document link. But we haven't yet generated the document. So let me click on save. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to put the actual meat in the flow. Okay. So once this document has, or this um, chatbot has been saved, I'm going to click on view flow details again. So it takes me to this canvas, and what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add more information, or what needs to be done with the information which we have gathered. So if you have followed my earlier uh, video about how to generate documents with Power Automate, we are going to use the same steps. So what I'm going to do is click on add an action, and I'm going to say word over here, and there is the word online business. So I click on it. Notice that this is a premium, so you need to have the actual license for the virtual agent to make this thing work. So I'm going to click on populate a Microsoft Word document. If you notice over here, it's doing this. It's creating a connection, a connector to my SharePoint Online thing, and within a few seconds it will come back. So we are going to select the location, the document library, and a file, the template. So the document library is where the templates are stored. So if you notice over here, when we talked about this is where my templates are stored. So I'm going to point to that particular document library um, in um, in this flow. So I've selected the document library, or the SharePoint site, which is the contracts management. The document library is the template. And finally, I'm going to say use the service agreements template with this. Okay. And then the next step is going to be is actually when what it needs to do is it was going to show all the fields which needs to be populated on the Word document. So I'm going to go ahead and start selecting. So if you notice over here, the information which the input parameters which we took over here, all are going to be displayed over here. So this is the zip code. So I'm going to select zip code. The client state is going to be the state. Client city is the city. Street address. Contract date is, I believe, effective date. The client name. Client address. Again, state. Zip code. Client name again. City. Email address. Again, the client name. And finally, the job title. Just in case if you're wondering why I was asked all these questions again, if you refer back to the template over here, I have the client name over here. Again, I'm asking for the client name over here, the street address, client city, state, zip code. So those were the um, information that we need to fill in multiple times. Okay, so once this is done, the next step is actually creating the files. I'm going to click on create file and I'm going to select this create file option for SharePoint. Again, if you notice, it's now trying to create the connection to SharePoint. Um, so we are going to select the site address, folder path, and where it needs to be saved. So if you notice over here, I've selected the contracts management as my SharePoint site, the master service agreement, and in the name of the file, I'm just going to select the client name dash master service agreement dot docx. Okay, it's very important that you specify the extension. And in the contents of the file, I'm going to say Microsoft Word document. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is the last step is I'm going to specify where this needs to be, or it needs to return back the document link, which is then shown to the end user. So let me remove that testing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and get the URL from here, paste that URL over here, and then after CM, I'm going to say the path where the actual document has been stored. Okay, and that's about it. So I click on save, and once it's saved, I click on close. And if you go back over here, everything is already done. We are looking at the document link and so forth. So let's try to test it while we are right over here. So Um, let's click on, say, generate document. And if you notice, it has started the flow. It is going to say, I would be happy to do it for you. And then what type of document do you want to generate? I'm going to say master service agreement, because that's the branch which we have already filled. So if you notice over here, you're actually in like a debug mode where it is showing like, okay, which step is done. So now it's asking for what is the client name. And I'm going to say testing demo. Okay, press enter. If you notice now, it is asking me the question for the street address. So I'm going to say 111 testing street, Kansas City, or let's say Overland Park, Kansas 66210. So sometimes what it will do is it will recognize the city and the state, but sometimes it won't do it. Um, so it might ask you for the city again. So I'm going to say Overland Park. Um, State is going to be Kansas, 66210. And now it's going to ask for the contract effective date. So I'm going to say 02/04/2022. And which email, like I mentioned, if you just type in this, it is going to not validate it and it's going to say, sorry, I did not understand what you said. So I'm going to say test@test.com. And now it goes through that. John Doe. And what is the job title for the client contact person signing this document? Uh, I'm going to say president. And if you notice over here, it did now make a mess over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and fix this particular issue. I don't know why it created those stars, but I'll have to. So I'm going to click on no over here, and it is going to again start over from the beginning. So I'm going to say generate document again. Now, if you notice over here, it went back to the first question. So master service agreement, um, demo client, and 111 demo street, and then what city? So I'm going to say Kansas City, Missouri 64101. Say 02/05/2022. In case of conflict, what email address do you want to send? Test@testing.com. And John Doe. And is the president. And now, yes, all of this information looks good. So I click on yes, and it is going to go ahead and generate the document for me. And voila, it shows you that the document has been generated. Um, if you notice over here, because it has spaces, it didn't pick it up correctly. So what we could do is we could just go to the actual master service agreement. Let's refresh the screen, and that is your document which has been generated. So if you open that document, you notice that it has picked up all of this information from what was entered over there. And um, if you notice over here, it has the demo client and all the data, and at the very end, John Doe and president. So that's how it is very easy to create your own um, chatbot without any major code. So the next thing what I'm going to show you real quick is that we need to, like, if it is a work order, we need to fill up all that information for the work order. So if you notice back over here where you have the work order, it asks for the client name, services provided, start date, end date, hourly rate, and consultant name. So the way I showed you initially was where we created everything in this particular topic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go click on the back button, and I'm going to create a new topic now for the work order. Okay. So I'm going to say 6.work order, and I'm not going to have any trigger phases. Um, I'm just going to go directly to the authoring canvas. And I'm going to say, sure, I can help you create this um, work order, but I need to gather some information first. Okay. So the first thing what we are going to do is, if you notice over here, we are going to get the client name, service provided, and all that stuff. So I'm going to say, after this, I'm going to click on add a question and say, who is the client, and user entire response. I'm going to say client name. If you notice over here, if I put a space, it does not allow me to add a space to the variable. So mm, just FYI, if you add a space over here, it's going to remove that space and make it one word. So client name, and I'm going to add the remaining variables over here. So what I did was I went ahead and created the same questions, like question for the client, services provided, start date, end date, and I went ahead and created the Power Automate flow, the same concept, just those same fields which I have already demoed, and then I said like, okay, your document has been generated, and this is the document line. So once you have saved this, you have to go back to your main uh, flow over here, go to the authoring canvas, and what I am going to do is on this question where the document type is work order, I'm going to say redirect to another topic, and I'm going to select the work order topic over there. Okay, so that's how you can redirect and start a different work order question and answer. So I've demoed you both these options where you have like showing it over here, and then go back over if you have clicked on work order, it's starting the other topic. So if you just type in generate document, click on it, and it goes back over here. I'm going to say work order, and if you notice, it will now start a different work order. So it is like who is the client, and it starts over the work order stuff. So I've already demoed how we can create the document. So if I type in start over, um, it's still taking the client name and so forth. So what we did was in this demo, we showed you how it is really easy to create your own virtual agent, which communicates with a flow, and um, you can create a document. Your scenario can be totally different. You might have to store information in your Dynamics, SharePoint, or even go to a SQL database. So your scenarios could be different. I just showed you how it is easy to create your virtual agent, which integrates with Powerful. If you go ahead and publish this particular um, chatbot, so I'm going to click on publish, click on this thing, and it's going to say, okay, this is what you're trying to do, and it has been published. If I click on open bot, I can click on add over here, and it will add this thing. So if you go to say chat, this one was the earlier version, and now it is like now this is the new version where it is saying, hi, I'm virtual agent. So if you type in generate documents and click enter. Now you're actually chatting with a virtual agent. It's the same concept. If I click on master service agreement, um, it's going to say who is the client name and blah blah blah. Um, in another demo, I'm going to show you how you can integrate this particular stuff into your channel. I'll just show you an example. So the earlier demo which I gave you, it's integrated with my Wingate General. So I can start a conversation and I can type in at general documents and say, can you generate documents for me? And now I've started chatting with uh, the virtual agent through my um, team channel. So that's how it is really easy to create your own virtual agent which integrates with the flow. Uh, Again, we'll be posting more videos on Power Apps, Power Platform, Chatbot, and all that stuff. So subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thank you.